Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Noble Company podcast. And for those of you who are new to this podcast, this is a space where we discuss contemporary business topics with experts, academics, and entrepreneurs from around the world. Now, today, well, before I go into that, my name is Roanne Smith, for those of you who don't know. And today we're going to be talking about the roller coaster of entrepreneurship. And to help me with this discussion, we have three special guests. Okay, so we have Debbie Jolie, Brent St. Catherine, and we have Talicia Lewis. Now, I am just going to ask you guys to tell me a little bit about yourself. So, tell me about you and then tell me about your business. So, I'll start with Debbie.
Okay, so my name is Debbie Jolie. I use the tagline, the stammering communicator. I'm a marketer and I really kind of blend two worlds, which is sales and marketing. I help on entrepreneurs and I help larger organizations with their top line goal, really helping them to achieve their revenue goals.
Okay, Talicia.
Hi, good night. My name is Talicia Lewis, and I am the owner of Happy Treats as well as Bake You Happy. I have been an entrepreneur for the past 15 years or thereabouts. Um, yeah, that's a little snippet about me and what I do and who I am. Yeah.
All right, and Brent, tell us about yourself.
Hi, thank you, Ron. So my name is Brenton Catherine, and I am an entrepreneur development consultant. So I basically work with entrepreneurs to help them with their businesses. I guess you can say that is my business. But before that, I did a lot of work on international projects where it came to implementing development initiatives geared at helping entrepreneurs.
All right, thank you so much. What our guests did not tell you is where they're from. So Debbie is from Trinidad and Tobago, Brent is from St. Lucia, and Talicia is from the beautiful island of Barbados. I'm not biased or anything. I'm just saying. So, so Talicia actually was the person who inspired this topic. So thank you so much, Talicia. We were having a conversation about entrepreneurship, and I was telling her about my love for entrepreneurship, and she said it's not as glitzy and glamorous as people make it out to be. And so I was like, maybe that's something that we should talk about, because in this day and age, entrepreneurship is really painted as persons working remotely in Bali or in the Maldives, and they're lying on a beach chair with their laptop. And yes, some people have that experience, but not everybody has that experience. And it's actually a lot of work to get there in many cases. And so today we want to talk about the realities of entrepreneurship, both the highs and the lows, as you no doubt have experienced, and many in our audience may have experienced as well. So, as usual, the audience, feel free to join in. We would be more than happy to answer your questions as long as we can, and to hear your comments. So feel free, you can jump in, and you can also tell us where you're from. We'll love to hear that. So let's begin. I'll start with you, Brent. Why did you get started in entrepreneurship?
Where did I get started? Well, one of my first jobs I was given was to manage a company, all right, a security company that dealt in fire alarm systems, security systems, extinguishers, and so forth. And in doing it, I was like, but I can do this for myself. So that was sort of the platform that launched me into entrepreneurship. And I'm glad you talk about the roller coaster of entrepreneurship. because everybody think it's glamorous and the money just keeps on rolling in. And I got into it thinking that, oh, the company I was working for was making a lot of money. But what I didn't realize was that they had all the support systems in place. They had their marketing managers, their product managers, the HR people, and so forth. And I'm running my company, and I'm like, but wait a minute, why am I here at 10 o'clock in the night? When I was running it for somebody else, I wasn't here at 10 o'clock in the night. When there's an issue, I'm looking left, I'm looking right, and there's nobody there to assist me. It's just you. So I got into it because I believed I had the abilities to do it. But I can tell you, no matter how much you've studied, when you get into it, you can see that there are a lot of little things that there's nothing really in life to prepare you for it. You just have to experience it for yourself. Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you, Brent. Debbie, just tell me a little bit about what you started.
Um, I kind of fell into entrepreneurship, to be honest. Although I had a fantastic example with my dad, who has been an entrepreneur his entire life. In 2013, I was out of a corporate job, and the company that I worked for, they went through, they downsized, they let go a lot of staff, and so I was literally out of a job, and that's how my entrepreneurial journey started. I think I always liked it and loved it. I've always loved business. But again, everybody's journey is very interesting and unique. So I sort of kind of fell into it. And what I've done has been what I know and what I've grown, and which is really all in the realm of marketing.
Okay, thank you, Debbie. And Talicia.
Okay, so my entrepreneurial journey started when I was actually a general secretary at a construction company. One of my friends who's an entrepreneur, he had this thing where it was telling me that I would be a fantastic entrepreneur, but I'm shortchanging myself. And by nature, well, I used to be a very shy person. I just couldn't see myself being an entrepreneur. I was good with my 9 to 5 and I was comfortable. But after he said that, it kind of sparked something in me to really delve into what he said and to see if there's any truth behind that, how good I would be at this thing. Um, what I started doing was not something that I was naturally good at. My first business was being a nail technician, and I had a 9 to 5 while still being an entrepreneur. And it was a little hectic being doing both of those things and still being a mother. So I thought, if I just quit my job and become a full time entrepreneur again, I'll find more time. That is such a lie from the pit of hell. Like I quit my job, everything was going okay, but the time just wasn't there because everything is at you, every single thing. And you end up dropping the ball a lot because realistically there's only so much you can do as one person. So that is where the journey began for me. Yeah. So from general secretary to full-time entrepreneur.
Okay, thank you for sharing that with us. And yeah, that's really interesting. Um, I I think sometimes, like I know for myself, when I've thought about businesses before, it's been stuff that I never would have imagined myself doing. So you saying that's not something that you're particularly good at. Sometimes you just see a need in the market and you're like, okay, well, let me try this. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But I think the thing is to try. So thanks for sharing that with us. So Talicia, I'm going to go back to you since we started this topic together. Is entrepreneurship as glamorous as it appears?
No, no Maldives, no Bali, just sometimes tears, some laughter. It is hard. It is really, really hard. Yes, at the end of the day, everything you do is at you. So the profits are at you, the losses are also at you. Everything is at your doorstep. And people often have this notion that, just like, what is your name again, Curtis?
Brent.
Brent.
Brent. Sorry,
Yes.
Brent. So just like Brent
That's all
said,
right. That's all right.
yes, people think, I am doing a job and I'm good at this job at my workplace. So I can quit my job and I can do this for myself. That doesn't always work. Because you're good at something, doing it for somebody does not mean that you're going to be good at it doing it for yourself. Because you become the secretary, you become the marketing officer, you become the financial controller, and you still have to produce for your clients. So it becomes very, very hard. And I think why people have the perception that entrepreneurship is glitzy, it's because people lie a lot. They just show the glamorous parts of what entrepreneurship is. Okay, made a lot of money this week. I am in Bali on my laptop, I on the beach, and I doing the most. They don't ever show you when that money ain't coming in. They don't ever show you the parts where no orders are coming in. Nothing is happening. It's so joy, and you can't figure out when the 20th of the month come, what are you going to do? They don't show that side of it. So then you think, man, I could be an entrepreneur, I could do this thing. And it's not to say that you can't, but like I had told you, you need to have the tools in place. And I also think that people have this other notion that I can only be an entrepreneur if I do it full time. You can have a full-time job and still do it. It does not make you less of an entrepreneur. And the full-time job kind of gives you a buffer that entrepreneurship doesn't give you. You have the stability, you have the steadiness, you have the constant money rolling in, so that should those orders not be coming, you don't have the anxiety attached to what am I going to do next.
Thanks for your brutal honesty. No, Debbie, tell me. So Talicia talked about the idea of having a full-time job and then doing entrepreneurship on the side. What are your thoughts about that?
Actually, I think entrepreneurship looks different for everybody. And I think that we actually have to be willing and open to have that conversation. As Talicia said, I mean, um, everybody's path is not the same, and so I started off as a full-time entrepreneur, went back within the last 10 years and worked in a professional space twice, come back into entrepreneurship full time. And I think it's different for everybody. Some persons might, be a little more or less risk averse. And so they may try to do what really suits them. And that's what I encourage entrepreneurs who I coach. I really say, it looks different for everyone. You have to do what is okay for you. Um, and again, I mean, I work with a colleague in IET, and he worked his full-time job, and he had a business on the side for close to 15 years before he decided, hey, okay, well, I really can't do on this. The business is growing, and I need to actually devote the time to growing it. And that's when he switched. So it really is where your passions are. I know someone else who is in HR and does a lot of consulting work, and she says she loves her profession, she loves her job, she loves the people she works with. So I mean, why can't you have both? So I think it's whatever works for you.
All right, and Brent, I know that you do a number of things. So you teach at, what's the name of the? Oh gosh, you'll tell us where you teach, and then you also have your consultancy. So tell us what you think about managing multiple businesses. I think Brent is stuck.
I seem connectivity issue.
Okay. I can hear you now. All right, so what we'll do is come back to Brent, and in the meantime, we can look at some of
Yes.
the comments. Oh, go ahead, Brent.
No, no, sorry. I had some connectivity issues, so I heard my name. Sorry,
Oh,
go ahead. Go ahead.
oh, you didn't hear the question. I was saying that you balance
No, no.
multiple things. So you teach, you're a consultant as well, and so if you would just tell us about how you balance the multiple things that you're working on.
Wow. Sorry, I'll have to change my internet connection. Could you allow me to step out for a second, please? Yeah,
Sure,
I'm actually losing.
absolutely.
Yeah, sorry about
Okay,
that.
that's all right. Okay, all right. So, Curtis, if you'll pull up some of the comments. So Gail says, might drop, you can do a good job working for someone, but that doesn't mean you can do a job when you're working for yourself. A good job when working for yourself. Yep. What else do we have here? Gail says yes about the support systems at your company, which you don't miss until you become an entrepreneur. That is for
Very true.
sure. That is for sure. Any other comments? Okay. Um, and I just want to welcome all of our viewers so far. I see that we have persons from the Bahamas, Papua New Guinea, um, from Barbados, and also Belize and Jamaica. So thank you so much for signing in. Brent,
Yes.
how are things?
Yeah, good, good. Another challenge of entrepreneurship is our connectivity.
Yes.
And the internet is poor.
Listen, don't worry about it. I say it all the time that my internet tries to embarrass me almost every podcast, so you're fine. Uh, so so I'll repeat the question. I was saying
Yes,
that
yes,
you do multiple things. You teach at the community college over there,
yes,
and you also have your consultancy, and
yes.
then you also do other projects with innovation. So
Yeah.
tell me, how do you balance those competing projects as an entrepreneur?
But I can tell you it's not easy. It's not easy, and I'll give you a typical day. Today, for the most part of the day, I had a project that I'm working on where it deals with developing a loan package for women entrepreneurs. And then after that, at 5 o'clock, I have to run off to a meeting for the community college. And then I have this podcast. Then afterwards, there's an entrepreneur I'm working with that needs some stuff by tomorrow. So one of the things is that you have to understand that being an entrepreneur is not the glamorous life. As you see, you're sitting down in the Maldives, you're having pina colada, and the business is running itself. No. A business is like a baby. You have to watch the baby 24/7. The minute you take your eye off the baby, something can go wrong. So it's very difficult. But I knew when I started my own consultancy that, listen, Brent, you have to work harder than you were working when you had a regular 9 to 5 that was covering your bills. And I understood that from the first time I started a business, that everything falls on you. And when you're an entrepreneur, it's not like you have a 9 to 5 and you can say a job comes in and you already have too much to do. You can say, oh, no, that's all right. I cannot take it on right now. I'm busy enough. As an entrepreneur, you always sort of hustling for money. So you may be overwhelmed, but you still have to take on work, and you have to know that your life is about burning the midnight oil. That's how best I can put it.
Okay, this doesn't sound glamorous at all. This sounds like a PhD. No, no. So it's interesting that you talked about burning the midnight oil. And so from talking to you guys, it seems like you're doing a lot of the work yourself. At what point, if at all, do you actually hire assistants? Anybody can answer.
I think for me, um, well, two things. I've always heard, you've been at some point in time in your entrepreneurial journey, you need to outsource the things that you may not be particularly good at. Um, and so I would say just about 2 years ago, or 2.5 years ago, I, hired a virtual assistant, and then within those 2.5 years, I kind of built a kind of freelance team around me for experts, again, for experts, because I wanted to expand what it is I was doing. Again, the pandemic changed a lot of things, so my business model evolved, and so I had to bring on persons. But the benefit was I brought on persons to really do the things that I didn't particularly want to do, or the things that they were better equipped at doing, you know and also too, I was able to benefit from utilizing freelancers all around the world, so that they would work with me on a project basis. I don't have a full-time employee to say, okay, well, I have work for you right around. I could bring persons on, we work on a particular project, and then we move on. So I think my entrepreneurial journey changed I would say in the last 3 years. It's much better, um, because I've kind of worked out those kinks. I really am not, I spend a lot more time with clients, and a lot of the administrative work and the lots of reporting and those things. I kind of outsource that. Yes, I have some oversight there, so that I ensure that there is a particular quality that must be delivered. But I do think if you want to begin scaling, and if you want to kind of, diversify a little bit, or open up your product line or product mix a little bit, then you have to kind of look at, bringing on persons. But I think now, we are in an interesting time where you can do that, and it doesn't seem like it doesn't feel like a burden, because you could manage those resources in a much better way.
Perfect. Anybody else want to add anything to that?
Yeah, well, I want to say that bringing on an extra person is not a decision to be taken on lightly, because now you become responsible for the person financially, and everybody comes with their own set of issues and nuances that you have to deal with. So, for me, I luckily am in a project-based role. As a consultant, I take on projects, so it's for limited time. So I don't have somebody on my full account. I can hire a couple other people, and they know this is what they have to do. And at the end of the project, we go our separate ways. So there's no full-time staff. But I understand if you're gonna scale a business, you do need to bring on people, and you need quality people, and you have to know. Don't just bring on people because you feel you have a need. You have to be able to justify that the benefits, as bad as it sounds, but the benefits have to outweigh the costs. Yeah, so that's my 2 cents for that.
Okay. Thank you so much. Now, how has entrepreneurship impacted your life? Um, I know that I actually know of somebody who became an entrepreneur and lost their home. Um, they're persons who become entrepreneurs and lose their families. And so you don't have to get extremely personal, but just anything that you want to share about how entrepreneurship has impacted your life, whether it is for the better or for the worse. It could be that it's freed up some more time for your family or to do the things that you enjoyed. Yeah, so tell me. I'll start with Talicia.
Um, for me, entrepreneurship did free up some time. Um, I was told that, at the end of the day, success comes at a cost, and you have to decide what you're going to pay. You're going to decide if you're going to pay with your health. You're going to decide if you're going to pay with your family. Ultimately, you decide. I cannot say that I lost anything from entrepreneurship, but I've gained a lot. Entrepreneurship has really, really taught me how to rely on people. I find it very, very hard naturally to ask for help. And entrepreneurship, especially Happy Treats, has taught me, has forced me, has demanded that I learn how to rely on other people because it's simply something that I cannot do on my own. So for me, entrepreneurship really has helped me to develop and grow as a person. It has really helped my character. Um, yeah, it really has. It has taken away some time from family sometimes because naturally, when things pop up, when jobs pop up, you may have to make a tough decision of, okay, do we go to this family event? Do we go and hang out with friends, or do we take this job? What do we do? And sometimes, more often than not, it impacts your social life. It has impacted my social life to the point where now I'm like, okay, I need to pull back a little bit and find some time for me to do things that I enjoy. Yes, like I do the gym, I do stuff like that. But on a the social element where I go out and I hang out with my friends and I just have that downtime, I don't do a whole lot of that. So I guess it has it has nipped into that, but I wouldn't say that's a huge loss because my friends thankfully understand and they support the journey as well.
So it's the support systems that we talk about. So even if it's support systems, it may be support systems in the business, but it may also be support systems in terms of your family and friends. Debbie, what's been your experience?
I think it's changed. I think in the beginning, because I registered a business and then my business changed. I started a boutique and then I really got into more of my consulting. I think in the beginning it was much harder. As much as I thought I had a lot of, corporate experience as a manager and say, hey, I could do this, right? That was as wasn't the case, right? As Brent said, you are the chief cook and bottle washer, right? So you do everything, even the things you're naturally not good at. You actually have to gain some knowledge and expertise, and you have to be able to maneuver there. So I think in the beginning it was much more difficult. I was much more driven. I was much more focused on work. So I'm sure family and friends would have seen me less. I think again the pandemic has taught me a lot. I had a sick dad last year, and so entrepreneurship has changed for me. The main goal for me is really to have that freedom of time and movement to be able to set my own schedule to do the things that I want to do. Now that is still constricted, of course, because you have clients and I teach and I do a lot of things. But for the most part, I'm able to better balance it now. And I would say the journey is a little bit better now. Before it was doggy dog and very hard, and a lot of sweat and a lot of tears, because again, you get into it and you don't know a whole lot, and you kind of learn as you go. So I kind of know what works a little bit better now. I know what doesn't work. I agree that you need help. I didn't want to take help because I thought, hey, I know what I'm doing and I have so many years in the corporate space, so I could do this. No, you have to be willing to take help. I listen to other entrepreneurs. I listen to their stories. I try to learn from the pitfalls of others so that I don't fall in those holes myself. So I think it's better now. I think it's better now because I'm a little more open. But the goal for me is not so much finances or chasing these success in terms of that number, but really being able to have the time to be able to do the things I want. I don't have to ask an employer to take time off. I just have to kind of reschedule myself. So that's kind of the benefit for me now. I'm kind of now enjoying it a lot more than I did in, the earlier years.
Brent?
Yeah, I like the answers that Alicia and Debbie gave because they summed it up correctly. Um, Talicia talked about she didn't lose anything, and I actually feel that way. I feel that I had to work harder, but what I felt was that it forced me to focus and prioritize. So I don't have to be at every party. I know that. I know I have to stay up late nights and work. I have to sacrifice some parties, but the thing I get in return is that I prioritize things that are important, like family, my free time, getting proper rest, getting proper exercise, and so forth. So, I wouldn't say I lost anything. I would say that I became more focused and I prioritized. And I want to add to Debbie because we're talking about the roller coaster and we talk about how hard it is. But there are some benefits to being an entrepreneur. The thing is, your time is yours. You're not answering to anybody. You don't have to send in a leave request and say, oh, I need certain amount of days to go and leave. No, you can shift it around and so forth. And there comes a time when, yes, money is important and these things, but there is a point where you have to tell your clients, listen, I need a break. And for 2 weeks, I will be away. I'll be away from my phone and so forth. But rest assured, I am coming back. Rest assured, if you really, really need me, we can work out something. But there are benefits to being entrepreneurs, you know? Yeah.
Thanks, Brent. And I want to remind our audience that you can feel free to ask any questions or make any comments, and uh, we would love to answer your questions. I know it's a really interesting topic. Some of you have said that, and some of you also are either in entrepreneurship currently or thinking about getting into it. And so we would love to share any knowledge that we have with you. So we talked about how it's impacted to your life. Are there any significant obstacles that you would have encountered on your entrepreneurship journey, and how did you deal with them? Brent, you're laughing. I'll let you go first.
Um, obstacles are daily part of it. I laugh because obstacles are they're just a daily the unacceptable truth of entrepreneurship obstacles, and you have to find ways around that. Uh, and part of being an entrepreneur is that you always have to figure out things. Obstacles will come. Competitors you never saw come in would blindside you. You may have a good product and one person gives you a bad review. All of a sudden, you're in panic mode because you have to do all this damage control and so forth. So there are times when I put in a lot of work with a client for a project, and like partway through the project, the client goes bankrupt. I cannot go and arrest the guy. You have to understand. So these things happen, and you just have to just figure out what is the next step. I'll give one example of an obstacle. I remember when I had my fire and security company. I went to this client, and this was going to be a very lucrative uh, client. And I was like, I need to sell you a full alarm system, all the extinguishers, everything. I need to outfit you. And the person is like, no, check back with us 2 weeks. We have to wait for the fire company to come and tell us what we need and certify and stuff. And I'm telling them, no, but I'm certified to do this. They're like, no, 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 but the fire service still has to come. Wait on them. And there was something that I knew. If I waited on them to contact me, I would have lost them because they would have gone to what was a much bigger company at the time. So that night I went home and I'm like, I can't afford to lose this. And my company was at a very delicate stage. I needed this to continue. So I'm in my bed and I'm like, boy, how do I do this? I said, okay, let me try a different approach. The next day, I went to the general manager's office. I knocked on the door and I'm like, please just give me 2 minutes. I have a proposal for you. Okay. 2 minutes. I promise you, 2 minutes and I'm out. I went, I sat down and I told her, here's what I'm going to do. I will put in everything for you free of cost right now, every single thing. And if the fire service comes and finds one fault, I will take out every single thing I have put in and I will do all the restoration work for any damage, any holes we might have put in, or anything like that. And here's a contract. I can get a lawyer's signature on the contract. And because of that, I got that sale. So it's just to say that as an entrepreneur, there's no such thing as no obstacles. Obstacles are a daily part of life. Yeah.
All right, Debbie or Talicia, do you want to add anything to what Brent just said?
Brent took on a big risk there. And
You
I am thinking,
understand.
I'm thinking, I don't think I've ever done, I don't think I've ever done that, but he's right. We face obstacles every day. Whether it's from financing, I think I would have, if I could go back in time, I wish persons would have, not persons. I wish I knew more about financing, financial planning, those types of things, because I think the you need strong financials to keep your business going, to start it up, depending on what it is you're doing. If it's a product based or service based, if you have a retail space, you really do need financing. So that comes as a little bit of a challenge. Um, but obstacles are daily, as Brent mentioned. You have clients who might not like what you have done, or or the project doesn't go the way it's supposed to, and so you feel disappointed. um for me at least, and I think that's a thing that gets a lot of entrepreneurs, they kind of start and stop, and because they don't want to face those challenges, but it's not really going to go away, and it is a test. It really is a test to see how resilient you are, how resilient your business is. It tests you to see if you could really adapt. Um so so my thing is really, where challenges are concerned, is really to look at them, to face them, and then to kind of just move in the next best direction, you know.
All right, Talicia, anything to add?
To that, I would add, I guess it kind of still sits on what Debbie just said. Basically, knowing how to set up your business properly. It's very, very easy to start a business, to go and register a business name and to do that. But then there are a lot of things that we don't know about, that we may not be educated about. You go register the business, you start the business, and then when it comes to taxes, it's like, so what are we supposed to do? What do I do here? When it comes to professional fees, it's like, does my business fall under that category? Because we literally just go and we fill out the form and that's it. Nobody gives you the next steps. Um, and I guess that's where the legalities come in, because realistically, we should have a lawyer as part of the whole deal, to advise us on what to do next. But obviously, that's a cost that, as entrepreneurs, sometimes we just simply can't manage initially. But realistically, we need to have all those things in place, because sometimes 5 years into the business, 10 years into the business, you realize that you've set up your business wrong. There's a whole mess, and you still
Yeah.
have to fix it while trying to run
Hmm.
your business. So now you got all kind of added stress, and everything just becomes very, very, very messy. So I would say having the right advisors in the beginning, understanding what you're doing, so that you can put the right things in place to kind of move as smoothly as possible.
Perfect. We have a comment here from Claudette Lynette White. She says, "Good night, all. Hi, Debbie. Flexibility is just as important as money to me." So that's
Yeah.
great. Everybody, like Talicia said, everybody has their cost that they're willing to pay, and some
Hmm.
persons, may be willing to sacrifice the money in order to get the flexibility. So thank you for your contribution, Claudia. Thank you for being here. All right. So with entrepreneurship, as you guys have alluded to previously, there's a lot of uncertainty. So how do you manage that uncertainty? Talicia, you go. I see that. I see that
It feels like
laugh.
you're picking on me at this point. It feels like you're picking.
You laughed first, so I'm like, okay, this could
Okay,
be
and when I laugh first again,
good.
what do you do? You just roll with the punches. You get you just keep going. And as you keep going, you find a solution. Sometimes you will just have to be very, very, very still and do nothing. You may have to run it by somebody else to get another perspective on how to just keep going forward. But yeah, sometimes you just gotta roll with the punches and pray for the best. Yeah, sometimes that is the only thing you can do at times because you don't know what you don't know. And sometimes I find that we aren't courageous enough to reach out to let somebody know, hey, I am struggling here. Could you just tell me what you think I should do here? And that takes a bit of, like I said, of courage to do. But yeah, sometimes just roll with the punches. You'll figure it out. Everything is figure outable. There's enough. There are enough entrepreneurs out there that can give you some perspective on what possibly to do next. It may not necessarily be something that you take and do exactly how they said, but just take the pieces that are for you, put them in place, and just keep going until the next hurdle comes.
Mhm.
All right, I hear Debbie agreeing. Tell me, Debbie.
I think for me, I did. There was a point in time where I felt like I hit a brick wall where things were just, I, I didn't see any growth and I felt like I was just doing a lot of work. I think, and to Alicia's point, you do need help and you do need to ask. And so I actually believe that entrepreneurs need coaches at some point in time. You may not be able to afford a coach, you know, for an extended period of time, but I could pinpoint a time where I invested in a coach and that made a huge difference in my in my business. I got a lot more clarity. I was able to troubleshoot with someone who kind of walked the path already and said, this is really what you need to do. The individual too was all about networking, so she opens up her clients to more persons, and that was very very helpful for me. So I believe in coaching, and so I think that's one of the ways to break through issues and barriers and challenges, because sometimes you really don't know what you don't know and you might be making the same mistake over and over again, and sometimes you just need a perspective from someone else, but someone who can give you the right advice, right? Not just taking advice from any and everybody, right? Really look to persons who have kind of walked the path before so that they could tell you, what you need to do next.
Brent.
Yeah, and agreeing again with Talicia and Debbie. Um, in terms of uncertainty, and Debbie said something about get a mentor or somebody to guide you. And I remember when I started my first business, and I'm a business consultant, and I wrote up my business plan and everything. When you are in it, it's different from a third party. It's almost like they say a surgeon shouldn't operate on themselves. And I don't care how good you are at business, you need an outside objective person because you are emotionally attached. All right. So one way of dealing with uncertainty is to first you have to get a network of people. It can be high professionals or people who think differently from you to give you other perspectives. The other thing is that, and I find businesses don't do that enough. Every business should have a strategic plan. You need to always do environmental scanning where you know what is on the horizon and how it can affect you. And a lot of people are going to pay a high price with chat gpt. I'm not even going to go through the industries, that's a whole other show. All right. but you need to constantly look at ways of bettering your business, spreading the risks, diversifying, and so forth. And I want to give just a little synopsis. I remember I used to rent DVDs from this shop, and I would go to her and I would tell her, you need to change your business model. And I told her this because Blockbuster was suffering in the US. And she's like, no, 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 that's not my problem. That's Blockbuster's problem. Da da da. People are using DVDs now. Fine. Still kept on renting. And within like 2 years, the store had completely disappeared. Completely. I mean, Netflix had put the store to rest. And what she should have done was from the beginning, just try to find a different source of income or find how she could probably have her own streaming platform with the DVDs she had and went into something else. But very important, entrepreneurs should constantly review their business plans and they must have strategic plans, constantly assessing what is on the horizon.
Hmm.
Really good advice. And what I really like about what you said is I think there are lots of persons that when I talk to about business, or because I do consulting as well, sometimes people hear what you say and they say, okay, that sounds very academic, that sounds very textbook. But the truth is, you know, there are some things that are really necessary for you to go through in order for you to properly manage your business. So yeah, it does sound like a lot extra work. But when you think about people who are scaling businesses, they are very strategic about the work that they do and they're very intentional. Businesses hardly ever grow. And I say hardly ever because I don't like to speak in absolutes. But businesses hardly ever grow just by, just letting things happen. There is some kind of detailed planning that needs to be involved in that. And another thing that I am getting that you guys are really saying is that there's definitely a need for community. Whether it's somebody that you hire professionally, whether it's somebody you can bounce ideas off of, there's definitely a need to surround yourself with persons who have different outlooks, who have different ideas, who you can tap into and say, okay, well, this is the challenge that I'm having, or this is the idea that I have. What do you think about that? So, yeah, we have a LinkedIn user here saying knowing how and when to pivot as an entrepreneur is essential. And so that goes back to what Brent was saying as well. Knowing when to let go, knowing when to
Hmm.
shift a little bit, and as business owners, sometimes we can become so attached to our dream that we don't realize that things are shifting. And so, thank you so much for sharing that with us. Now, so we talked about being risk averse, right? So there's some people who are kind of risk averse. There are some people who are willing to take on a little bit more risk. Brent is
Brent?
definitely
Yes.
he's definitely a risk taker. Um, but do you think that there is a personality type or personality trait that is best suited for entrepreneurship?
Hmm.
I'll start with you, Debbie.
Um, I think if I think about the entrepreneurs I know, and I think about the people who haven't been in business for a very long time, um, resilience is, I guess, a characteristic I see. They tend to be people who see the glass as, half full and not half empty. They tend to be able to bounce back quickly. They don't, they have a problem, they see what the problem is, and then they develop the solution and they move again. And so, if I really think about it, those are the traits that I think make successful entrepreneurs or persons who really, are there for the long haul.
Sorry, Brent, how about you?
All right. So based on all I've done, I've worked with entrepreneurs throughout the years, and I mean, most of my life I've been like an entrepreneurial coach. And there's one thing that I see in every single successful entrepreneur. I want to call it a stubbornness. And I don't mean stubborn in that they're pig-headed or they're cocky, but a stubbornness in that they will hold on to something and not let it go. They're stubborn that way. So if they believe that kind of business will work, even when it's doing bad, they're stubborn enough to say, no, 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 I'm putting money in it. It will work. It's this sort of thing whereby it's a stubborn, it's an inevitable stubborn. So it's not that you're stubborn to the point where you won't listen to people. You will listen to people, but it's stubborn in that you have a belief that is not easily changed. And I think that is the common thread I've seen throughout all the entrepreneurs I've worked with who have become successful.
Perfect. Talicia.
Determination. Most of the entrepreneurs that I know, they are very, very, very determined. Um, I want to say there's a particular personality because, like I said, when I first started, I was naturally a very, very, very shy person. I could not see myself being an entrepreneur. I could not see myself going out to a client and talking about a product. I could not see myself selling a service. I could not see it. It was simply not in me at the time, but that was something that developed over time. So I'm saying that to say, who somebody out there that may be listening who may think, oh, that ain't for me. It may actually be in here, and you may just need to start. And as you keep going, it starts to grow and it keeps growing. So you might just need to start. It may not be something that you grow up seeing somebody do. You may not be as determined or as committed as you think you are, but it may just be somebody seeing something in you that you could not see in yourself, and you hold on. That same stubbornness that Brent spoke about, sorry, you hold on to that with their life and just allow it to pull you through and go through and continue to go on the entrepreneurial journey. So realistically, ultimately, is in here, and it's up to you to pull it out.
And speaking of holding on, we have a comment here from Claudia Lynette White. She said, I always say that we have to look at technology. Debbie can tell you about me and transcription, so I'm guessing that this is one of Debbie's friends or clients. It's now built in. It's now built into Google Meet, Microsoft Teams, etc. I now have to pivot into becoming a virtual assistant. Okay, so that's really interesting. Again, knowing when to look at the market, like Brent said, do some environmental scanning, see where things are going to determine, okay, this is where I have to go next. And Crystalline Butcher Lucas, she says, Talicia has become super determined, so proud. Thank you, Crystalline, for being here. Okay, so I I have a question for you about there are people that are listening here who are thinking about going into entrepreneurship, thinking about dropping out of entrepreneurship. Um, what kind of advice would you give to them? Anybody?
Okay, I'll start first before you pick on me.
Because I was about to say you have to pick
I
on
know, I know it was coming. Um, it's very, very individual. Let me just start there. Everybody has their reasons for wanting to give up. If your reason is logical, if it means that being an entrepreneur is impacting your life in a point where you cannot function anymore, I would say let it go. If it is in a place where it is fixable, like Debbie said, like Brent said, just find a community. You may just literally need to put yourself in a space with other entrepreneurs so that you can realize what you're facing is not unique to you. Because a lot of times we feel backed in the corner and think, oh, woe is me. It's just me that's going through this particular thing. But the entrepreneurial journey, though it is unique, there's still parts of it that are very, very, very similar for everybody. There will be the pains, there will be the struggles, but there will be the highs. There will be the times where you are up and up and everything is going right. There will be times where you're understanding what you're doing and you're putting the right stats in place, the right tools in place, and there's a flow. And then you will still meet a stumbling block. Stumbling blocks does not mean that it's over. It just means something for you to learn how to climb over. That's where you build your muscle. That's where the entrepreneurial muscle grows in learning how to get over these humps and keep going. To those who want to come into entrepreneurship, I know some people may want to quit their jobs and just jump straight in. Please don't do that until you really, really, really know that is what is necessary. And that is like me. This is how the conversation started with me and Rowan. I was like, please don't do it. Please make sure you have your things in place, have your ducks in a row. If you have a 9 to 5 and your goal is to, own a home, own a car, like, do those things first. Where the banks will honor that before you jump into entrepreneurship, thinking, oh, I can make all the money in the world. So, I will have things in place that the bank will say, you're doing really, really good. Let me just give you all these things. It doesn't work like that. Do what you can do while you have your 9 to 5, put your things in place so that when you make that leap, you are in a place where you don't have to wonder so much about, how is this particular thing going to work? Because as much as entrepreneurship is glorified, I would dare say, please do not come for me. I would dare say we aren't taken as seriously as we should be. You know, we are supposed to be out there creating employment. We are supposed to be out there helping economies to grow. But yeah, so when we go to get the help to help our businesses to grow, it's like we're supposed to bring the blood from a dead ancestor and the lock from a unicorn. It's really, really hard for some entities to take us serious. And that is the harsh reality. So, if you want to get into entrepreneurship, make sure you have your ducks in a row. I would say if you can find said community or speak to somebody in a legal capacity to understand what you need to put in place for your business to start on your right foot, do that. If you want to quit, just take a step back, take a deep breath. Again, find community. Talk to somebody before you make the decision to just give it all up because sometimes giving up is really not the solution. Yes.
Perfect. Debbie, I'm going to go to you next.
I think for persons who might be in entrepreneurship who may want to leave, again, I do agree with Talisi. I think personal, it's a personal choice. It really is dependent on your situation, your unique circumstances, what's going on in your life, um, where you are in your life, you know, that you'll make that particular decision. So seeking out a little bit of help and advice there would essentially help. And for persons who may want to get into it, to me, I think the best way is always to kind of straddle both worlds. Start your business on the side while you work because you will use a lot of financing from your 9 to 5 to help you there. You can work out the tweaks as you go, and then there's no set time to say, okay, I'm gonna close off my 9 to 5 and jump full time into entrepreneurship. That varies from person to person, but at least you would have a little bit of a buffer, and it could eliminate a lot of the heartache than just pulling the plug and just jumping into full time entrepreneurship. So I do tell persons start it on the side because it's going to test you. That process of balancing a 9 to 5 and then coming home and then really working no sleep is really a test. You'll really know if this is really what you want, you know.
Very interesting, Debbie. I like that. Um, Brent.
Yeah. Um, Sorry, I'm a lecturer, so I always have a lot of opinions about everything. Uh, if you are going into entrepreneurship strictly because you want to live the glamorous lifestyle, you're going about it the wrong way. There must be, like anything else, there must be a cause that you're fighting for, whether it's your own independence, whether it's you passionate about something, and because of that you want to become an entrepreneur because you want to express your passion. But being living the glamorous lifestyle and money alone is not necessarily the best motivator for becoming an entrepreneur. And I'll tell you, because if you're doing something you're passionate about, in the hard times when the money isn't rolling in as it should, you still have a sense of pride in what you're doing. You're still enjoying what you're doing. And that, trust me, that helps a lot. If you hate the business that you're trying to start and it's not making money, that is a huge task right there. So you're thinking about becoming an entrepreneur, look for passion and go into entrepreneur because there's something that you really want out of it that you're willing to fight for. All right. For those who are in entrepreneurship and they want to leave it, again, Debbie and Talicia said it right. Before you leave it, speak to your network, speak to the experts, and get their perspective on why the business is going badly. All right. I tell people often ask me, how do I know or when would I suggest that somebody give up on a business idea because it's not working? And I tell them this: it is okay to make a loss in the first year of a business. One of the biggest brands in the world, I was watching a documentary on Netflix the other day about Anwana, and the guy said they were selling t-shirts out of the trunk of their cars, and in the first year, they lost a ton of money. But he still continued, and they became very successful. And he said what drove him was that the look of people buying his product on the during the year. So he was happy about that, and he saw, although he wasn't making as much money as he should, there were signs that this was picking up. In your business you need those signs. Okay, even if you're losing money in the first year, there should be some sign of growth, whether it's your clientele is increasing, or even if the product that you're not making the most money off of is selling more and more. You okay, even if you're not making the money you should, but there must be some sign of growth. If over the first year all you're doing is losing sales every month, that will continue into the second year. So get an expert and also watch the trends. So that, yeah, that's just my plug on that.
Thank you so much. And we have a question from Tony Taylor. If you had to do it all over again, what would you change? I'll start with you, Brent.
If I had to do it all over, what would I change? Um, I think I would have taken Debbie and Talisa's advice and stay in my job longer and acquire some more funds. Because I mean, I did survive, but I think it would have been easier if I had transitioned a little slower. And the other thing is that I would have listened more or to the network around me and sought the help of other people, because coming from my learning and so forth, I was like, no, I have this, I have the book knowledge, I can put it in place and so forth. But at that time I was really too close to it to see all the pitfalls. I really should have gotten more outside perspectives. So that's what I would have done differently. Yeah.
Debbie?
Well, I totally agree with Brent on that second one. I think um, for me, at least, when I got into entrepreneurship, I really thought I had enough professional experience that this, not that it wouldn't be hard, but that I knew what I was doing. And the truth was, I didn't always know what I was doing. And also, too, I had too much of pride in the beginning to even ask for help. So when things were not going the way that I wanted it to go, and I felt like, oh my gosh, I'm doing this and I'm not seeing the result. I didn't say anything, you know. I kind of just, so I think I went through a few years hitting my head against the wall because of pride. And only when I kind of opened myself up, got a network and got a coach, did I really see a change. Because now, I got a perspective from someone else. So if I did that earlier, I am certain that I would have saved myself a whole lot of heartache.
Talicia?
What I would have done differently would have been to have better account have an accounting system in place. Yeah, I would have done that differently for sure. Unlike Debbie and Brian, I didn't come from corporate into something I was doing in corporate. I was doing something totally different. The money was money, but I wasn't keeping track properly. So I would have a better tracking system in place, and also I think I would have want to have made peace with bringing on somebody to work. Um, as much as we think, sometimes some of us we think that we can do it all, and we don't want to bring somebody into our business because they're going to take away our ideas, which really doesn't happen anyway. And if they do, they aren't you. So there's that. I would have want to be able to have the courage to bring somebody on board so that the business could naturally grow, and when they step away from it, it can still be functioning outside of me, as opposed to if I step away, nothing happens. So yeah, accounting system and employees. Sorry.
Okay, perfect. And from maybe a policy level, is there anything that you think the region can do to support entrepreneurship? Because there's a lot of there's a lot of discussion about entrepreneurship being the way forward. Like Talicia mentioned, it's a great opportunity for um, revenue generation, for employment. However, we don't always necessarily get the support that we need. And again, like Talicia mentioned, in terms of the banking system. So, what would you like to see the region do to better support entrepreneurs? I'll start with you, Debbie.
Exactly what you said there. All things in regard to being able to trade and conduct business regionally and internationally, the whole, e-commerce aspect, the ease of receiving money, the ease of getting money. I think those things are the biggest. It's so difficult. It still is difficult to. It might be as difficult to register businesses in certain, regional islands, but to set up a bank account. I'm trying to do one in another regional island, and it is a perfect headache. And so, do all those things, financial, e-commerce, and receiving payments, sending payments, and those things are still a headache. And I just don't know why. And there's so much regulation, and I understand the security aspect of it, but I do think it's exponentially difficult for entrepreneurs, especially where those things are concerned.
Brent?
Where do I start?
Ah,
Where do I start? There's so much that needs to be done, and I'll start with what Debbie said. In terms of setting up a bank account, and I can tell you entrepreneurs in my country, St. Lucia, and I'll call out St. Lucia for that, who have to wait about 2 years to set up a bank account. And even, yes, 2 years is not an exaggeration. There's so much red tape, so many papers you have to bring in, and so forth. The other thing is that a lot of them want to sell internationally and they want to link an e-payment system to what they have, and that is difficult to do. The systems aren't readily available, and when they are, the cost per transaction you might as well not sell. So those are some of the hurdles. The other thing is that in the Caribbean, the cost of a lot of things are just too high.
Yeah.
We a lot of times cannot achieve the scale. And I remember I was talking to the Manufacturers Association in St. Lucia, and they said that our electricity costs is among the highest in the world. And you're talking about a small country, and you want us to go into manufacturing. So very little manufacturing is done here because of these kind of things. And lastly, it's not that I want to prolong the conversation. We missed the mark in terms of prototyping. Every incubator across the Caribbean comes and they give you the same run of the mill courses. A little bit of bookkeeping, a little bit of marketing, go out and be an entrepreneur. Yet still, but they do not focus on bringing people in and telling them, listen, we have a proper lab for you to prototype your idea, how to package it, get the ingredient content, and so forth, and make a perfect product. Because you can give people the knowledge for something. If the product fails, I don't care how much bookkeeping you've put them through, how much marketing you put them through, and so forth, nothing will save that product. So let's at least get the product right, and these other auxiliary programs can aid them in pushing forward the product that they have. But we, for some reason, focus on everything else except helping them to prototype a good product. So that is just my 2 cents on that.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am. You know you're next.
Yeah, listening to Brent though, I I am so grateful for Barbados because we aren't that bad, you know. I find myself complaining, but listening to you, let me take it back. Because we do have systems in place here. Yeah, 2 years is crazy to wait for a bank account. We can have a bank account set up within a day. All we have to do is take our business registration form. Yeah, that's it. You know, the business registration, like $500, and you are good to go. That is it. It may take a little. It may take the whole day, but you get your bank account. When it comes to Singapore to type, we have the BNSI here, which will go through your labeling to make sure that, you know, when you get to the point where you do want to export, your label basically fits the region that you want to export to. So we have that. So we make sure the label says what it's supposed to say. If it's supposed to have a nutritional facts, it has that on. We have the government analytical service, which does our testing. So it will test for any abnormalities in the product. It will test for the nutritional value. It may not give you every battery of testing that you need, but it give you enough testing that you can go forward to do what you need to do. So I don't know. We ain't doing a bad job here, Barbados. We ain't too bad.
Apparently not. Because when I heard Brent talking, I was like,
I
what?
was like,
Wow,
uh,
wow! I am impressed. I am impressed with what is
yeah.
going on.
So like for me now, when it comes to the teaching of the bookkeeping and the marketing, I personally think from my heart, yes, as entrepreneurs, we should have an idea of how to do those things, but I think we should be taught how to hire people to do those things. How do we include in our pricing an accountant? How do we include in our pricing a marketing manager? How do we include that in the price of our product so that when our product is sold, it covers the cost to hire these people? Because marketing is a job, Instagram is a job in itself. You know, accounting is a job in itself, and we cannot expect to tell entrepreneurs, okay, you need to know how to do all of these things. That is crazy because as an entrepreneur, your focus should be in your service or in your product and getting it out there. Yes, you should have the idea of how the industry works and stuff like that when it comes to the marketing and all that. You should have that you should have the idea of that so that when you have the conversation with your accountant, you know what you're talking about. When you have any conversation with your marketing manager, you know, okay, this is what I want. How did we get here? Um, so yeah, so basically teaching us how to scale our businesses when it does come to the point where it's scalable. I think that's what we need. And to be honest, we do have that here in Barbados as well with Export Barbados. We into bad, Barbados. We into bad. So I cannot complain about a whole lot because I would be highly hypocritical. Yes, there are some loops in the system that could be fixed, but yeah, we into bad.
Hmm. All right. Thank you, Talicia. Give out all the props to all the Barbadian companies. All right. So we have some last comments from our audience. So Pastor Suzanne Rowe-Blidgen says, great advice from all. She also says it's absolutely wise to have startup capital and funds to last while you build your brand and your clientele grows. Mhm. And then we have Deanne Smith. Yes. How do we include in our pricing how to hire people? Facts. It's too much to do everything. We need help too, not only large corporations. Yep, we absolutely do need help. And as it relates to community, I'm just going to put a plug on here for LinkedIn. Um, LinkedIn has actually been a very good source of community for me, not only in terms of encouragement as it relates to my business, but being able to liaise with other people and see how they're doing things, see how they're approaching their business, possibly doing collaborations. I've had persons reach out to me to ask me for advice. Or tell me, okay, I want to pick your brain about something. And what I realized about LinkedIn is that persons, I should say from my experience, persons seem willing to help. It's like most of us are in the same boat, you know? Most of us are trying to get through, and instead of, and there will always be persons competing, but I find that there are lots of people also who are, coming together and trying to help each other grow. So I would like to put in a plug for LinkedIn. I know there are a lot of persons, especially creative persons, who don't believe that that space belongs to them, but there's a lot that can be done in the LinkedIn space. And like Talicia said, locally, just look around, do some Googling, talk to friends and other people in your networks to see what kind of support is out there. Because one of the things that I keep coming out of this conversation is the importance of community and networks to really help your business to grow. So I see one comment, and this is the last comment that we're going to take. Um, that's from Claudia Lynette White. She says, way. That's how my Trinity friend says, way. Way. I thought Trinidad and Tobago was bad. I think it has to do with international laws and treaties that we have agreed to. I like a statement made by Mia Motley last year about it because of the controls they want to have on money laundering that stifles growth for small countries. Very interesting. Thank you, Claudia. And thank you so much to everybody that signed in today. I really enjoyed this conversation. I learned a lot. I'm definitely going to be calling on Brent, Talicia, and Debbie for more community and to ask questions um, as I encounter the different obstacles that are absolutely part of um, the day-to-day challenges of doing business. And I'm just going to give you each, in one sentence, anything you want to say in closing. And if you want to share your contact information so that we know how to reach you, I'll start with Debbie.
Well, I just want to say thank you actually for this opportunity. I actually agree that a lot of we don't talk about the pitfalls of entrepreneurship or the difficulties of entrepreneurship, and we live in a digital space where we're seeing all this, the perfect images and the perfect video, and everything is going great. But it does take a lot of a lot of work, right? That's more than a sentence. um, Well, persons can find me on search for Debbie Jolie, the stammering communicator. I'm on most social media platforms: LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, um, and anytime, feel free to reach out. Thanks so much.
Talicia?
I want to say thank you too for having me as part of this discussion. You can find me on Instagram at Happy Treats Bin. You can also find me at Bake You Happy 246.
All right, and Brent.
All right. Again, I want to thank you and also thank the other participants, Debbie and Alicia, who very intelligent, very hardworking women. I want to tell you all to keep up the good job that you both are doing. For me, I guess since we're on LinkedIn, yeah, just connect with me on LinkedIn, send me a message, and I'm here to assist with any consultancy needs you may have. All right.
All right, thank you so much again to our panelists and our audience. We look forward to seeing you next month where we talk about more exciting topics in business with experts, entrepreneurs, and we look forward to seeing you then. Bye.